Nike is an American sportswear company headquartered in Beaverton, Oregon. It was founded in 1964 as Blue Ribbon Sports by Bill Bowerman, a track and field coach at the University of Oregon, and his former student Phil Knight. They opened their first retail outlet in 1966 and launched the Nike brand shoe in 1972. The company was renamed Nike Incorporation in 1978 and went public 2 years later. By the early 21st century, Nike had retail outlets and distributors in more than 170 countries, and its logo, a curved check mark called the swoosh, was recognized throughout the world. It is a 57-year-old organization with brands such as Nike, Converse, and Jordan. It is an American multinational corporation. Its major business units include designing, manufacturing, and worldwide marketing of shoes, apparel, accessories, and services. It is a Fortune 500 company with a revenue of USD $37.4 billion in 2020, and it employed more than 75,000 employees worldwide. It is an evolutionary organization which has brought about a revolution in the field of sports. Nike's mission and vision is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. If its motto, if you have a body, you are an athlete, has been worldwide known. Nike was launched when the sports industry was going through an oligopoly. Between the 1970 and 1980s, it overtook Adidas and Puma, and soon saw a steep shutdown and struggle phase during 1980s and 1990s. It had a reorganization in its structure and soon it overtook all other sports brands such as Adidas, Puma, and Reebok to gain the highest market share between the 1990s and 2010s.
Initially, the business strategy was laid on foundations built by Bruce Henderson and Michael Porter. Bruce introduced the concept of economies of scale through which business can scale up with experience and steepen the learning curve and gain competitive advantage. Uh, Michael Porter, agreeing to this premise, said that business cannot uh, gain competitive advantage in all of its components because business has multiple components, and this led to the origination of value chain analysis. Now, the premise on which value chain analysis was based was the transaction cost, which included uh, communication cost and the information processing cost. Now, with the advent of technology and the availability of data, and with internet coming in the picture, these costs started to come down and become obsolete at this point of time. Now, with the transaction cost coming down, it did not make much sense for the business to handle all of their value chains to gain competitive advantage. Now, what this availability of data and now it being traceable did to the businesses that they can see multiple patterns which can be used to multiple patterns which can be used to drive their competitive advantage and scaling of business activities beyond the institutional boundaries in which strategy was formulated earlier. Now, this led to the polarization of scales, and in either direction, either way, the vertical structure started to break and they become more horizontalized, and the breaking of value chain also started. So this led to the origination of horizontal structure and the fundamental change in this way we think of strategy.
Okay, so now let's look at how Nike is being disruptive with the impact of data. So, as it is known that data is in abundance today, and it is not a question of how organizations are going to obtain data, but generally what they do with that data is more important. So, as we know that Nike has been into innovation from about 3 to 4 decades now, and this is the only reason that it has been able to not only keep up with the competition but also lead the competition. A good example would be to know that Nike has around commands over 95% of the basketball shoe market in the world, and this has only been possible because what Nike does with the data and gets insight from it not only helps Nike to design great products for its consumers, but also to be able to deliver a better customer experience in general. So there have been a few uh, events in history which we can look back at and understand how it helped Nike to break its value chain and ultimately deliver the customer experience through direct to consumer model. So first event would be Nike's partnership with Apple in 2006. So Nike partnered with Apple and partnered with their product Apple iPod in order to provide an iPod Sport Kit. What it did was it helped the consumers measure their fitness data about the calories, the distance that they've run, or the amount of calories deficit they need to lose their weights, etc. So this helped Nike to get more data touch points in the very beginning of the 21st century. So it was an impeccable innovation which helped Nike garner more consumer data. Another data that Nike has been working on, and it is still used by Nike to gather data, are its two applications, Nike Run Club and Nike Training Club, which is used by sports enthusiasts or fitness enthusiasts throughout the world to track their performance. Also, Nike acquired Zodiac Technologies, which was a leading analytics company, and it helped Nike increase data touch points not only from Nike apps but also from other devices such as Fitbits or other mobile phones that people might be carrying with them while they are working out. So all of these things helped Nike break down its value chain because, for example, if Nike had the data from Zodiac Technologies, what they could do was, if, for example, a customer has a pattern of buying shoes for around, let's say, once in 6 months, and if the customer has not bought a pair around in a year, Nike could reach out to that potential customer again, and this would help Nike a lot. So this is the way how Nike has been able to break down its value chain and reach directly to the consumers. And this is what they call a direct to consumer offense model. Nike has also been following this triple double strategy, which is uh, betting twice on innovation, speed, and direct to consumer connections. So this is the strategy that Nike has been using. And with these many data points that Nike has been able to collect and the insight that Nike has been able to gather, it has been able to customize own health packages to the consumers. Along with this, what it enables Nike to not only offer new products in such categories, but also disrupt categories. For example, say nutrition industry, which is not really its mainstream competition.
Yves Morieux discusses overcoming two enigmas, namely, why is productivity low in all the businesses? And the second is, why is there so little engagement at work? He noticed that these two problems had a common root cause that was related to management's fundamental pillars. We organize ourselves around these two pillars. Structure and procedures are the hard aspects. Feelings, sentiments, interpersonal interaction, and personality are examples of the soft aspects. When an organization reorganizes, a cultural transformation occurs, but these pillars are obsolete. So, what happens when we continue to use these methods in the face of increased business complexity? The hard approach just adds to the organization's complexity. We require more time, more resources, more systems. We need more storage, inventories, and working capital because a procurement, supply chain, and manufacturing, they don't agree with each other. Who is going to foot the bill for that? Is it the stockholders, the clients? They'll straight away say no. The employees are the ones who must compensate for a lack of coordination by their individual efforts. The confrontational style fails to promote unity. The idea of getting people to collaborate in a soft way, making them like each other and improving interpersonal feelings is also wrong. It is sometimes even counterproductive. Both these approaches are obsolete, and hence a new simplicity approach is formulated.
So to deal with complexity and to enhance the nervous system, they have created what they call smart simplicity approach based on some simple 6 rules. So the first one is understand what your people do. So in this, trace performance back to the behaviors and how they influence overall results. Understand the context of goals, resources, and constraints. Determine how an organization's elements shape goals and resources and constraints. Second is reinforce the integrators. So identify integrators, those individual units whose influence make a difference on the work of others by looking for points of tension where people are doing the hard work of cooperating. So integrators bring other people together and drive processes. They work at the nexus where constraints and requirements often meet. Give integrators the power and interest to foster cooperation for dealing with complexity. Remove managerial layers that don't add value. Third is increase the total quantity of power. When creating new roles in the organization, empower them to make decisions without taking power away from the others. Providing a few tools simultaneously is more effective than offering many tools sequentially. So, regularly enrich power bases to ensure agility, flexibility, and the ability to adapt. Fourth one is increase reciprocity. Set clear objectives that stimulate mutual interest to cooperate. Make each person's success dependent on the success of others. Eliminate the monopolies, reduce the resources, and create new networks of interaction. Fourth one is extend the shadow of the future. Have people experience the consequences that result from their behavior and decisions. Tighten the feedback loops, shorten the duration of projects, and enable people to see how their success is aided by contributing to the success of others. The last one being reward those who cooperate. So increase the payoff for all when they cooperate in a beneficial way and establish penalties for those who fail to cooperate. So Nike's organizational structure, which is flat to a great extent, reduces the role of key performance indicators, metrics, and emphasizes more on the coordination between different units, leading to better productivity. A separate unit of innovation under the CEO, led by the innovation president, is crucial in bringing about this change. Creating a separate entity in order to lead the competition and set a benchmark in the industry is a step towards doing away with the tasks that are counterproductive in the name of efficiency. So, breaking the value chain in order to foster cooperation in the system is also an aspect of the same goal. With the help of data, Nike is bringing the customer to the center and it is using it to build collaboration to basis of a single unit of measurement among the available components and hence advancing productivity.
Now let's look at the BCG framework and the right strategic style for a company in an industry. So the idea of the scale advantage used to be considered the most important factor. That if the company is big, it would have a cost advantage and would make more money. But however, if we look at the proportion of say top three companies by profitability, it turns out to be less than 5% in today's time. So the whole premise on which the whole idea of scalability was based is not really good enough for today. So as an organization, it needs to make right choices and have appropriate strategy for today's time more than ever. Because over the years, if we look at the gap between the top 25% and the bottom 25% of the most profitable companies, it had widened and is termed by Martin Reeves as the crocodile jaw. So with this knowledge, it has become clear that the way companies approach a problem needs to be changed, and accordingly, their strategy would change. So it would depend on the environment that the industry, the company is in, which will help in strategizing their strategy. So according to BCG, we can look at two critical factors, which are predictability and malleability. And these two critical factors can be used to identify the right strategic style for the environment a company is in. So these are predictability, which is the measure by which future demands, say market expectations or competitive dynamics, etc., can be forecasted effectively and to what a level of certainty. Also, the second critical factor is malleability, and it is the measure by which the ability to influence and change the industry can be determined. So when we use these two critical factors, we can come up with a 2x2 matrix, and we can use it to choose the right strategic style, and by studying the environment and generate higher shareholder returns, etc. So these four styles are classical, adaptive, shaping, and visionary. And now let's look at them now.
Classical. If the environment is predictable but hard to change, You want the classical strategy taught in RB schools of setting a goal, targeting the most favorable market position, and developing successive steps to reach your goal. Once you set a plan, it will stay in place for many years. Next, adaptive. When the environment is totally unpredictable and hard to change, forecast and long term plans are usually worthless. You must be adaptive, constantly refining goals and tactics, shifting resources quickly to respond to events, shaping. If the environment is unpredictable, but you can shape it in some way, you want short or continual planning cycles with flexibility, aiming to shape the environment by bringing together customers, suppliers, and others in an effort to define the industry. And last but not the least, visionary. In predictable environment that you can see, shape, build it, and they will come approach, build developing bold strategies that will lead to dominance in the future.
So to identify a right strategic style for a complete business would not be an ideal quest, as businesses have multiple units, organizational units, which work in coherence, but at the same time they have different environments through which we have to apply different strategy to gain competitive advantage in each unit. So for Nike, what we have done is we have identified four major organization units that define the whole business of Nike. So these four units are shoemaking, product innovation, marketing, and consumer experience. So what we have tried to do is we have tried to map these four units to the BCG matrix and find the right strategic style for each of them. Coming to the shoemaking business, it is the Nike's primary business and it will always be the core of its process. So with its high predictability and less malleability, it is the division which follows the classical strategic style and have been following since a long time. With the advancement of technology and using data insights from consumers, Nike is not shying away from creating products which are way ahead of its consumers with competitors. So through which it is also trying to disrupt the other industries which are not in its mainstream competition. This is the classical example of product innovation through data, which is Nike is trying to do. This creates the variable take or the launch of a fuel brand are the examples of various product innovation that Nike has done, and it because of which we have put this unit into a shaping unit. Now, coming to consumer experience, it is an area where Nike is trying hard or doing best to maximize the consumer data touch points, getting to know their consumer and to serve them better at each data point. Now, with the help of data or with the recent acquisition of Zodi Technologies, point towards the fact that the consumer experience is getting better and the Nike is moving from shaping unit to the visionary style to reduce the unpredictability to get the maximum insights on consumer experience and to make serve them better. Now, coming about the Nike's marketing campaigns have clearly envisaged their visions to their customers, making this unit the truly visionary. Now, they have been doing this with various components of it, like creating water cooler moments or betting in technology that gets people talking and selling aspiration, not just product, reaching out to communities or constantly striving to innovate and showing it in their ads or their campaigns or on the social media. This has led the Nike to gain a competitive advantage or a major market share above its competitors. And that's all from our side. Thank you.